Hello, party members. This is Shag, and welcome back to Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Apologies for delays between videos, as well, I had a sinus infection. I'll do my best to get, at least an episode per week, at the absolute bare minimum. I'm not the most productive fellow, so, last time, we were told to go to the Bone Dungeon, which, as you can plainly see, is directly above us. However, might as well do this battlefield. And remember the controls again. The enemies in this battlefield are ones that are going to show up in the Bone Dungeon. Also, they're attempting to introduce us to poison right now. Status effects in this game can be kind of annoying sometimes. There's really not much more to say about it than that. Well, later ones include, confusion, paralysis. It's a good thing the game lets you restart if you fail a battle, because sometimes you can get completely screwed over. Still, the game's not really that mean overall. And remember, if you don't find that I'm saying very much, at least you can enjoy the battle music. Seriously, I think this game has some of my favorite battle music that I can think of. It's just kind of unexpected, maybe, would be a good word for it. It's also actually one of the few, SNES RPGs I can think of off the top of my head that have animated backgrounds in battles occasionally. Or, well, more noticeably animated. When I try to think of Final Fantasy having animated backgrounds, it's mostly just blinking lights, I think. Of course, my memory's not the best. Oh look, status effects. Isn't that lovely? Poison apparently persists after battle, and does exactly what you would expect it to do. Which isn't really much of a problem. I could just cut out battlefields if they seem to be a bit too, tedious. That's not the right house. Where's the inn again? I'm so good at this game. I know where everything is. No, I don't. And there's another thing. You can jump over NPCs if they feel the need to block you. While we're here, we might as well reharvest those potions. Anyway, back to the uneventful first part of this video. I think you probably understand the point of battlefields by now. So, as long as I don't shut up and can cut things out, all that you really need to see here is the reward at the end. But naturally, I'm not going to stop talking. Despite the pleas of the minority that may or may not accompany that statement. kind of strange how enemies can resist poison when, like, I'm pretty sure that your main guy never actually gets... Well, no, he does get poison, but only much later. And then I don't recall many other things that resist it. We'll talk about that when it shows up, I suppose. There's only one more to go. And our reward for all this is the charm. What does that do? Not a whole lot, really. I believe it gives us 1 point of defense. Yep, that's it. 1 point of defense. Was it worth the time spent? That's up for you to decide. So, this is the Bone Dungeon. We're gonna see a lot of enemies lying around like this. I mean, which was pretty much shown off in the previous sort of thing, but yeah. You can't jump over enemies if you're standing next to them. So if they're in your way, and you want past them, you do have to fight. But there's probably not a lot of reason to fight most of them if you are impatient like this. My habit, of course, would be to defeat all of the enemies in the room. But I think I'm going to cut back on that a little bit and just try to get the chests and stuff. Maybe the game will become a little more challenging that way. Though it doesn't seem really likely. These chests are probably just heal and cure potions anyway. Maybe some seeds if you're lucky. I don't think we've seen seeds yet. They basically give you all your magic casting back, and magic works like it does in Final Fantasy I. That is, you have a limited number of uses per type, rather than per level. The types being, well, I'll get to that in a minute. When I check the status screen and remember what they're called. White, Black, and Wizard, yes, there we go. Wizard is basically black but flashier and stronger, so there's really not much to say about that. But white magic is probably the best. Ah, ninja stars. That's not quite what I was expecting. There's gonna be a lot of that in the game too. You have a few weapons between you and your temporary members that have limited ammo, but it never really comes into play that much. Because the game loves to supply you with ammo if you run out. Or even if you don't run out. Ammo everywhere. Just get this one chest in this room, and move on. The enemies aren't making a very good showing, are they? Just sort of dying a lot. More ninja stars. Spend ninja stars to get ninja stars. And next up we have mandatory jumping across turtles. It's just like I'm playing Final Fantasy V, but with the actual jump button. And this is a lot less annoying than the ship graveyard in that game. I never liked the ship graveyard. It just bothers me. What is this? The door is sealed shut. Well, here goes. Watch this. Aren't these something? I'll sell you something cheap. How about 50 explosives for 30 gold pieces? No. Alright, I'll cut you a deal. How about 50 explosives for 15 gold pieces? There you go. Now we have a new weapon type. They explode. We will later get even later varieties of bombs can be thrown on the overworld, which is not really as exciting as it sounds. It's just crap. We need something for long-distance switch puzzles. What can we do? But when used in combat, bombs spread their damage between all available targets. So if you have a large group, you do damage to all of them, but it's not quite a lot. But if you have a single target, it's going to do more. You also need bombs for things like that. And here we have the steel shield. And me pressing the wrong button. All that does is give us some defense. Defense is nice, but later armor pieces give resistances to irritating status effects. For the record, you cannot jump in the bone tunnels, making them displeasing as far as gameplay aspects go. You know, looking at it, this dungeon doesn't actually have that many enemies. You can basically skip most of these. But let's demonstrate our bombs, at least. See, it didn't manage to kill either of them, but it did weaken both of them, and allow them to actually show what kind of attacks they can use. But usually, bombs aren't the #1 option in combat, I would say. At least not until you get the huge ones. Oh hey, he didn't actually die. And we have a demonstration of confusion, which apparently won't last long enough for it to actually demonstrate. But it does what you would expect. Except, it can do more than just make you cast your, not cast, but use your basic attack. You can go ahead and spam your high-level spells on yourself if the AI feels it necessary. Which is pretty painful. Hey look, it's the first boss. Kind of. Too bad for him, he's kind of a chump. Or he can use his body odor to paralyze half of my party. See, that's the reason that status effects are irritating. Because there's only 2 of you. Now, while I think it's interesting that the game has a party limit of 2, it's something that I always kind of want to try if I decide to make an RPG. It really does make status conditions hurt you a lot more than normal. Especially if they decide to target both of you with Paralyze, and then you're just kind of stuck. I'm not sure if that outright considers the battle a loss, or it makes you sit there and get beaten upon. I suppose if it comes to that, we will see. I want to say it just counts as a loss right away. Let's press the wrong buttons all the time. Okay. That was a little bit more chaotic than necessary. Actually, I think I missed something up here. I believe this might be our first flying enemy. They have a little bit of a flight animation, as you can tell. That does not make them particularly spectacular in any sort of way. But they are weak to projectile attacks, which is basically most... no, not most, but half of the attacks used by temporary party members are projectiles. Ninja stars. Probably not really worth the effort to get back here. Especially considering that I doubt we'll need 68 of them on the boss. Tristram is rather temporary, which we will see. You're a more interesting enemy type. Entertain me. Or not. Works for me, I guess. Oh look, more ninja stars. And here it makes you think that you... well, yeah, there's quicksand. You gotta fight the enemies here. Nothing doing. Not that it really is of any consequence at this point in the game. Speaking of earlier bosses... now he's a zombie! Woo. But again, not very threatening. At least he takes 2 hits. If the enemy gets a critical, they can actually do some, you know, damage. Which is a little bit surprising. Nothing we can't handle, of course. So yeah, you want to avoid all that quicksand. It's not nice quicksand. There will be a later dungeon, much later, where you actually have to use quicksand to your advantage. I don't think it happens in this one. You know, I guess you don't get to enjoy the battle music that often, considering how quickly all the things get killed. They weren't really kidding when they said it was an RPG for beginners. And they do love their hallways of enemies. Looks like I might level up a lot even if I try not to. I'll consider it a study in this game's design, if I have to. Here we have many branching paths, which are a lot less annoying than they usually would be in RPGs because they only waste your time instead of making you fight random encounters. Here we have the boss, but we don't want to fight him quite yet. There's a little more stuff to gather. First, Quake, the first black magic spell we are allowed to cast as Frank. When you get magic, it only applies to him rather than the party members that you may or may not also have. They always just come with a preset of spells. And this should be seeds, yep. Just in case you used all your magic curing, and somehow that also used all your black magic, which is impossible. But, hey. What do I know? Might as well fully heal before the boss. It's not like the resources are that precious. There's absolutely no reason to do that, but apparently you can. Grr! You'll never beat me! I have the power of the Crystal of Earth! And welcome to the boss music once again. I think it's a once again at this point, yes. So, this is the first big boss. There's not really a whole lot of special to them, except they actually have a little bit of difficulty occasionally, and they have a little more animation and more hurt frames. So let's test out Quake on him. And just to prove a point, try this. No effect. It doesn't actually work on everything. See, he can actually, well, as he puts it, chew off quite a bit of your life. Let's see how damage compares to bombs in this case. He's strong against both of the status effects that Tristram can apparently cause. And Quake does more. He's starting to lose a bit of his ribcage there. Oh my. Yeah, sometimes this game can screw you over. Or at least attempt to. They're very nice with life too. I mean, life too, also, though. In the sense that, well, it revives you with full health. Let's try this too. Just for the sense of completion. And there's this little unique animation. He's weak against zombie attack. Yup, I guess there's an entire class of attacks considered zombie attacks. I think that did more than Quake. He also has Quake. So yeah, as you'd expect, Cure hurts the zombie types. And when I say hurt, apparently I mean it quite a bit. He's kind of falling apart there. Uh-oh. That's a close one. Not that it's, well... So you can see how there's at least a little bit of challenge in these battles sometimes. Counter Quake! And there he goes. Tristram gets his shiny prize. Well, in a second. First, we get a shiny prize. Look, the crystal! Never mind that, get a load of this stuff! And Tristram shows off his awesome new toy. I'll keep this. Oh, here's what you wanted. Received elixir. We also get cure potions and some explosives. Might as well save while we're here. And a sand coin, which allows us to progress further. And, of course, the crystal, which we cannot actually pick up. It just kind of hangs out and is rescued. Look, I've got to go. See you around, kid. Shrug. And with that, Tristram leaves us to track out of the dungeon ourselves. Not that it's a challenge. That sand coin is necessary to progress through the game. The focus tower that was mentioned earlier is sort of a hub for the 4 directions you can go in, which are the 4 elements. The sand coin being the key to the first gate in there. We'll get to that probably next time. I don't think there was an easier way out this whole time. But we've got time to waste. It's not like anyone's dying in desperate need of a potion or anything. I guess we will have to actually clear some more enemies, since I circumvented them earlier. Good thing that's not much of a problem. With the recovery of the Earth Crystal, you might notice that the Earth in this portion of the world has been restored. Foresta is back to being, well, a forest. And all the old people have reverted in age about 80 years. Even if I bomb the children. I'm a little girl again. Well, obviously that's not important. Hurry and give Kylie the medicine. I think I'll take this first. Frank, is it really you? Here's the elixir. Thank you. Now I can visit Spencer in Aquaria. Why don't I go to Aquaria first and look around? Where is it? It's through the focus tower and to the northwest. The dialogue in this game, very to the point. Let's see what the other citizens have to say. Thanks for saving us in the trees. Go save the crystals. You're a demanding lady. This guy's still old. Sucks to be him. You know, if the Earth was so dead, then how is it so easy for it to regrow the trees that I chopped down to get chests all the time? It's probably not something you're supposed to think about. And with that, I think this is a good place to take a bit of a end of the episode thingamajig. I mean, we saved the Crystal of Earth. What else could we possibly do this episode that would have that much magnitude? Magnitude. Earth, I get it. Anyway, this has been Shag. See you next time on Mystic Quest.